Today, we're diving into something truly game-changing in the world of mental health. We're going to break down the Recovery College model, and we're doing it as a practical guide for all you community leaders out there.
Okay, just start with this question. I want you to really think about it. What if we shifted our whole perspective, away from the idea of clinics and patients, and instead pictured a campus, a place full of students, all actively learning, growing, and discovering their potential? That simple but powerful idea? Well, that's at the very heart of everything we're exploring today.
All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to start with the big picture, this new paradigm for mental health. Then we'll get into the nitty-gritty of the Recovery College model itself and its two absolute cornerstones, hope and autonomy. From there, we'll see how those pillars create real, tangible empowerment. And we'll wrap it all up by looking at the kind of leadership that makes this possible. Leadership that is absolutely driven by compassion.
First things first, we need to get our heads around this new paradigm. And look, this isn't just a small tweak. We're talking about a fundamental, ground-up shift in thinking, moving our entire focus from a model of treatment to a model of education.
Let's really break this down. You know, in the traditional way of thinking, a person is a patient. Their identity is often wrapped up in their diagnosis, and they receive care from an expert. But this new paradigm, it completely flips the script. The person becomes a student. Their identity is now defined by their potential. And instead of just receiving expert-led care, they're part of an environment where wisdom is co-produced. It's a huge shift from focusing on what's wrong to building on what's incredibly strong.
And I want to be clear, this isn't just some abstract theory. This entire model is grounded in the pioneering, real-world work of Assistant Professor Dr. Supalak Khemthong from Thailand. Her incredible expertise in psychosocial and occupational therapy is what gives this whole thing its practical, life-changing foundation.
So, how do we take this big idea, this paradigm shift, and actually put it into action? Well, that's where the Recovery College model comes in. Let's look at the core principles that help not just one person, but an entire community really start to thrive. The model is really built on these four key ideas. First, it's about holistic well-being, not just the absence of sickness, but feeling whole. Second, it's about giving people the tools for self-management. Third, it has a life recovery focus, which means looking way beyond a diagnosis to what a full, meaningful life looks like. And finally, it uses practical tools like occupational therapy to help people get back into the swing of everyday, meaningful activities. And really, when you boil it all down, the goal is simple but so profound. It's to empower people to look past a label, to see beyond a diagnosis, and to reconnect with their full, amazing human potential. It's all about possibility.
Okay, that all sounds great, right? But how do you actually do it? Well, it all starts with two foundational pillars that leaders can actively build their programs on, creating genuine hope and championing autonomy. Hope is the absolute launchpad. It's not just a nice, fuzzy feeling. It is the active, foundational belief that recovery, that a better future, is truly possible. And that belief, it becomes the fuel for the entire journey. It's the motivation to get up and rebuild a meaningful life.
And right there with hope is the second pillar, autonomy. This means truly, deeply respecting a person's choices and their right to decide their own path. This is where the power shifts. It empowers students to set their own goals and to become the captains of their own recovery journey.
Now, when you combine that foundational hope with real, true autonomy, you unlock something incredible, genuine empowerment. So let's talk about that power and see how it doesn't just stay with one person, it ripples out and transforms a whole community.
Empowerment is the result. It's the amazing outcome when people are given the tools they need, the knowledge, the skills, and that crucial community support to take active control of their lives. Recovery stops being something that just happens to them and becomes a proactive journey that they themselves are leading.
For any of you leaders watching, this slide right here is a fantastic practical tool. It's called the Community-Based Rehabilitation, or CBR Matrix, and it gives you a holistic framework. It shows that real community support has to look at all these pieces: health, education, livelihood, social connection, and finally, empowerment itself. You can't just focus on one. They all work together.
This is why it all matters so much. The whole goal is to see this fundamental shift in roles. People move from being passive recipients of a service to becoming active agents of change, not just bettering their own lives, but lifting up their entire community with them.
All right, finally, for any of this to work, it absolutely requires a certain mindset from its leaders.
So let's get into our final section, what it really means to lead with compassion and the actual science behind why caring is so powerful.
Take a look at this image. It's so insightful. It shows different brain states, right? From being stressed or reactive on the left, that hot-headed or shut-down feeling, all the way to a calm, balanced, integrated state on the right. Now here's the key takeaway for any leader. You cannot help guide someone else to that calm place if you aren't there yourself. Your number one job is always self-regulation, because that's what makes co-regulation with others even possible.
And this isn't just some philosophical concept, it's hard science. This is neuroplasticity in action. It means that every single time we practice things like care and kindness, we are physically strengthening and reshaping the empathy circuits in our own brains. Compassion isn't just something you have or you don't. It is a skill that you can build, like a muscle.
So what's actually happening in your body? Well, practicing compassion releases oxytocin. That's the hormone that dials down stress and builds trust. It improves what's called your vagal tone, which is basically your body's ability to chill out and handle stress. And like we just saw, it literally builds a more empathetic brain. It's incredible.
This quote from Gene Watson just nails it. It all has to start with you. The foundation of caring for others begins with kindness toward oneself. That's self-compassion. It's not selfish, it's essential.
So, what can you as a leader actually start doing today? Here are 3 things. First, build your emotional literacy. Just practice naming what you're feeling as it flows through you. Second, practice authentic presence. That means being fully there with someone without jumping to judgment. And third, adopt a growth mindset, where you see every challenge as a new chance to practice and show care. So as we wrap this up, it's so important to remember that the Recovery College is way more than just a model or a program. It's a values-based way of being. It's a cultural shift that doesn't just help individuals, it nurtures the health and resilience of the entire community.
And that brings us to our final question, and this one is for you. This wasn't just about sharing some interesting ideas, it's really an invitation. Using these principles, these tools, how will you empower your community to thrive? Thanks so much for joining us.